Hey there, this is me, Anil. Welcome to Education Tat. I'm creating a series of database lectures. Today we are going to talk about database normalization. This will help you to clarify your concept of database normalization and how to practically perform this, along with what is the importance of primary key, foreign key, composite key. So I will cover this in the lecture today. If you have not seen earlier videos on this series, I would recommend you to go and watch that and do practical sessions as well. This will give you a lot of idea. Let's understand the importance of database normalization, why it is required. So in general sense, before I go and talk about some of the topics mentioned here, when you have a book, you can keep it anywhere on your table or anywhere in your room. It's easier to find, easier to navigate. But just consider of a situation that you need to manage a library of several books. You do not have choice to put it anywhere. Similarly with database, you have to organize things to retrieve faster, to manage effectively, and that is where database normalization is very useful. So let's have a look. Normalization, when we talk about, that is with different categories. So first normal form, second normal form, third normal form. Up to this point, these are must and these are to be followed for a bit better database design, whereas some of the upcoming normalization, BCNF, Boyce and Cod normal form, fourth normal form. So this one is in between of third and fourth normal form, whereas there is fifth normal form and sixth normal form which is proposed. But in lecture today, I'm going to talk about which you will need the most, and that is more for practical purpose, whereas some of these are more on the theoretical knowledge. Let me know if you want to learn them. I will create another video for that, but today we are going to talk about first normal form, second normal form, and third normal form. Let's understand the importance of normalization. Let's understand what is denormalization. Denormalization is you are just organizing the data in a manner where you are keeping multiple records by comma separated. So that's one example of denormalization. If you look at this example, you will notice that Anil Bajpayee, whose first identity, right, and Vibha Bajpayee with the street 2 is a second identity, and Vibha Bajpayee with the street 3 is a third identity. But you will notice that movies rented, Sholay and Villain, these should be ideally be in different record, but just wanted to that's where it is denormalized. We are keeping this information as a comma separated, and that's where we can keep any number of information by comma separated. It will less number of rows, but it's very difficult to query or very difficult to manage. So that's the problem with denormalization, and that is where normalization was introduced. And I have highlighted another example with Gangster and Annabelle. Two movies are comma separated. So what is first normal form? First normal form says we have to create a table or organize a table in a manner that it should have unique records, which means I'm just removing this comma separated value, and rather than having 3 records, I will have 5 records. Each record is a unique record against the information. So it does not have any keys as such, but the records are not comma separated and it should be unique. So that's the first normal form. Let's talk about the second normal form. So why we need second normal form? As you will notice that this Anil Bajpayee with the street 1 and Vibha Bajpayee with the street 2 and Vibha Bajpayee with the street 3, these are 3 different identities. And to uniquely identify, we have to use this composite key. We have to use physical address along with full names all the time. So what is the solution? We can create a primary key table, and we can have Anil Bajpayee, Vibha Bajpayee, and the next one saved as this one. So for which we have to create the primary key. What is the primary key? I will just explain. And so just think about it. It's a number, given number or any value which uniquely identifies the record is called the primary key. So what we are doing here, we have created 3 primary keys. One primary key which has three value 1 2 3, and each uniquely identifies different persona here. Anil Bajpayee with the street 1, Vibha Bajpayee street 2, Vibha Bajpayee street 3. So that's where we can manage this information, and we can in a way segregating all person related information in one table, whereas the other table will have the foreign key. So you will notice, I'll just zoom out, you will notice that member ID, which means Anil rented how many movies? 2 movies, Sholay and Villain, right? So these are the foreign key. So basically this to create a relationship between a child table and parent table. In this case, this will be called parent table and this will be called as child table. So you will also hear something similarly, master child or parent child, master slave. So this is because of the parent primary key and foreign key relationship. Before I move forward for third normal form, let me give you some quick view. What is primary key versus foreign key? So just think about one example here. If we have to store the information of Aadhaar number, e-name, job, salary, and department, and we are creating a uniquely, we are creating a key to identify. So in general, if we talk about every student in a class will be identified by roll number. Any employee in the organization is identified by employee code. So these are just the codes to identify a single person, because sometimes with the same name, same information, there could be multiple people or multiple employees, multiple students in the class, multiple employees in the organization. So that's the case. To uniquely identify, we can use employee code or a roll number, things like that. Similarly, if you're in US, you have SSN. If you're in India, you have Aadhaar card, you have passport number, you have PAN card. These are the unique number which identifies who's the person we are talking about. So primary key is a number allocated to individual employee for their unique identification. Then if we need to link any other information with that, we can use the foreign key. So in this example, you will notice we have two table where this is the primary key for table, this one, right? And Aadhaar number is also uniquely identifier. So if we do not have the primary key, so maybe more than one key combined together is called composite key. We can use that as well to identify, but in general, we create the primary key. Now, this table has the department number. This is the child table, right? This is the child table. Child table of what? Of parent table department, which means first you will create the department and then you will allocate employees in that. On department number, you will see it's a primary key of this table which have number allocated for different department. Now this primary key is linked through a foreign key in a different table, which is employee table. And in this employee table, you have this foreign key connected, which means if you are entering a new record in employee table where department does not exist, database itself will throw an error and you should not be able to proceed. Similarly, if you are not obeying the rule of primary key, saving any record without providing the primary key, which is unique, database will also throw some error. So that is primary key and foreign key. Now there could be a concept of what is unique key. Very general question asked during the interview. So difference between primary key and unique key. The only difference between primary and unique key, it can have one null value, whereas primary key will always be not null. So think about one table where a column is unique, which means it can have, not necessary, it can have one null value, but rest of the value will be unique, because null itself will be a value which is unique. So let's say that we have a table where null 1 2 3, these all are unique. You will notice these all are unique. We cannot have two nulls here. This is not the unique key. We cannot have two nulls, but at least one null is allowed with unique key, whereas in primary key even this null is not allowed. So that is the difference between primary key and unique key. Hopefully you are able to understand. Now let's get back to this example where we are talking about second normal form, and what we have done, we broke down this structure into two tables. You will notice one thing, that this salutation is still dependent on full names here. For example, if I want to change the full name here, it will require salutation to be changed as well. So this is called a transitive dependency. We want to avoid this as well. So what we can do, we can create one table, the same table like we had earlier. We will create another table. This will just represent salutation. So we could have three type of salutation, Mr., Mrs., Ms, and we have given different IDs to it. Whereas on salutation, which is a linking between these two, so you can say this is the primary key table or the master table for salutation, and this becomes your child table because this foreign key linked to the master table of salutation, right? So that's how we are managing, and that's where to break number of transitive dependency. That's become the third normal form. Now you can also have movies rented. This one I'm giving you this for your homework. You can also have another table which will have movies as a primary key table, right? Which means you will have one for Sholay, one as a primary key for Sholay, two as a primary key for villain, three as a primary key for gangster. And this table will become your mapping table, which will have foreign key from two different tables, and to give a relationship which member rented what particular movie. Hopefully you are able to understand the concept. I'm not going to give the practical. I would request you to do the practicals, create all these tables, and let me know if you face any challenges. Thanks for watching.